IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode on the Musafir Stories. A couple of quick announcements before we start on with today's travels. Firstly, a big thank you to the listeners who've been writing into us to share feedback. We'd like to thank Ankur and Hussein for their brilliant 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. And a big thank you to Vimudha and Abhishek Kumar for reaching out to us. A huge shout out to Jitendra Kumar for some constructive feedback about the use of ambient sound effects in the podcast, which can sometimes be intrusive and distracting. Thank you, Jitendra. We will keep this in mind and try to improve upon this going forward. Secondly, a very important announcement about the Get Featured on the Musafir Stories contest that we run annually as a part of our International Podcast Day celebrations. If you are a listener of the podcast and are interested in being on the podcast as a guest, here's your chance. Reach out to us on our email, themusafirstories@gmail.com, and share a pitch of an itinerary, a destination, or an experience about a place in India that you'd like to share with the larger audience. Share a blog post or a social media post that you've written about the place, and that's it. We'll select one lucky winner who will be announced in the next episode of the podcast, and he or she will have the chance to come on and record with us. So write to us ASAP. And finally, about today's episode, make sure you have a good pair of walking shoes on, as we're taking you on a self-guided tour in one of the most beautiful cities in India. So let's jump onto the episode and find out more. So with that introduction, I'd like to welcome Arvind from the blog Jaipur Through My Lens, a very brilliant and a colorful blog about the different things one can find in Jaipur. Arvind, thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories and welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Arvind.
Hi, Faiza. Happy to be here talking to you guys.
Same here. I mean, we are so mesmerized after looking at your blog and the beautiful pictures.
And yeah, it's very unique also because you're focusing primarily on Jaipur, right? So that way also it's a very unique blog. It gives depth more than just the breadth, right? Otherwise, like most of the other things we see, the focus is on the breadth, but here there's depth along with the breadth. So we're really happy and glad that we're talking to you about this. So why don't you tell us and our listeners what you'll be talking about today and where you'll be taking us to?
Seth, I think coming to Jaipur and not visiting the old city is like, not seeing the city itself. Because you might visit the popular tourist destinations like Amir Fort or City Palace and all that. But unless you explore the bazaars and the local life, you don't get the local flavor.
Sure.
Jaipur has been included in the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And this particular area, Walled City, is what has been rated under UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. And congratulations to you and
and
all
Jaipur.
of us. Yes, yeah. It's a big thing to be made to that list.
And as you mentioned too, the old cities, they're usually the heart of these places, right? These bigger cities, it has grown into, because they give you, I think, a glimpse into the past as well, like what's the origin of a lot of these places and what are the places of importance. And for me, it's also a way to gauge the amount of modernization, because sometimes these old cities are literally overrun by new constructions and everything, right? So I always go out and look for all these older cities to wherever the places I visit. I think there's something I think very unique about them, and I really like others also to do that too. But what has your experience been, and what's a good way to explore these old cities?
See, although you can start anywhere, but it's nice to start at some interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is easy to reach, and it's very easy to locate also. So I always suggest you pick up any of these gates that are there, and Jaipur has 9 old gates.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you can start at any of these. the one that I picked up is called New Gate, is the newest of all the gates. So my walk starts at New Gate.
Okay.
And this particular gate was built in 40s, and this was the last one to be built. Prior to that, there used to be a smaller gate here, but then the last Maharaja decided to build a bigger gate like other gates. So the unique thing about this gate is inspired by Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, because its shape is different from the rest of the old gates. So it is a bit more modern, and it's a straight line kind of thing. So that's where I suggest people should start.
Okay. And Arvind, so just going back to the point, right? Exploring these old cities, I personally felt that walking is the best way of kind of feeling these, I think feeling the real color and the real flavor of these old cities and the markets, right? What do you suggest in terms of even the walks, right? The different choices of walks, like go on a paid walking tour, or you sign up with, say, a hotel or one of the accommodations you're living with, or like in this case, it's a self-guided tour, you're saying. So which one is your personal preference?
I think it's there cannot be a generalization. In some places, guided tour works well. In some cases, it's a self-designed walks which work well. So it also depends on the individual. Like people who are photographers or artists, they will be better off if they do it on their own, because they like to take their own time.
Yep.
I mean, when you're walking, you might see something interesting and you might want to stop and chat, or maybe buy something, or pause a little longer, look over it, or maybe click pictures. So I think in that sense, self-guided walks are better.
Right.
But if you're going in a city which is completely new, a different culture where language is a barrier, or you're not in a mood to, do a little bit of homework, then I think going with a guided walk is better.
Brilliant. And in terms of, say, the duration of this whole self-guided walk, right? How much time, I mean, obviously, again, it's a subjective question given that one can't spend a lot of time, but just the walking distance and the time taken for that, how much would it roughly be?
It would take around 1.5 to 2.5 hours.
Okay.
And the reason why I chose this particular route is because it's very easy. You're walking in the main bazaar, which is where everything is happening. And the detours are also smaller. So you can just walk in the bazaar like you normally do. And this guide just explains you in detail about the place and what detour you can take and what you can expect. So essentially you're doing things on your own. This just helps you to plan it in your own way.
Wonderful. So let's get started. I guess the preferred starting point, especially in the case of your blog post also, is the New Gate, right? Or the
New Gate.
Naya Gate. And talk us through this walk, take us with you, and call out all the important points that you feel one should look out for. Obviously, there is that day-to-day goings on in the market that will be unique for each and every listener, each and every walker. But do call out the important points and take us through this walk with you.
So this New Gate is, I think it's very clear the gate is new. So this was built in 1940s, whereas rest of the gates, they were built in 18th century. I mean, in 1727, Jaipur was founded, and it started with a foundation of one of the gates. And rest of the gates were built over a period of time.
Right.
But this particular gate, this came up in 1940s because the last Maharaja of Jaipur, Savai Man Singh II, he built this gate. So before this gate, there used to be a very small gate, and this was called as Chor Darwaza because it was not open for everyone to come in.
Oh, okay.
And this gate was built because the city was expanding, and the Maharaja, his queen, Gayatri Devi, she was not residing in the city palace. So she was living in a place called Lily Pool, which is extension of Rambagh Palace.
Okay.
I'm sure most of the people would have heard about this hotel. So that's where she was living. And this gate allowed easy access from the city palace to that Lily Pool residence of Gayatri Devi. That was one of the things. The other thing was that because the city was expanding, so this gate was also required for easy access to the new places.
Right.
And once this gate was built, a lot of hotels came up around this gate. Those hotels still exist. Some of them, they still are there closer to this gate.
And in terms of, say, just the sheer size and the architecture and the colors of this gate, right? How similar or different is this to the other gates? Like you mentioned, there are 8 other gates, right? So how different is it, Arvind?
So this particular gate is quite different from the other gate because this gate is inspired by Brandenburg Gate of Berlin.
Right.
Okay.
So it has got a straight line, unlike other gates, which has got a different kind of designs, which are more like the walled city in terms of design. But this one has got a straight line. So it is quite distinctive in terms of design.
Right, and in terms of the colors also, right? Nice bright red and white. I think that's what.
So the color is same as other gates, and the floral design is also same. But it's just the architecture style which is different. It is more modern looking in terms of its architecture as compared to the other gates.
Okay, brilliant. So now that we've started off here, what's the next point of interest on this work?
So once you walk past this gate, you turn right and you walk through the bazaar, which is called Bapu Bazaar.
Okay.
So this bazaar has got a lot of interesting stuff for tourists and travelers because there are a lot of handmade bed sheets and fabrics and salwar suits and a lot of handicraft items in this bazaar. And even locals buy here. So you can be sure that a lot of these places offer good merchandise at good price. And it's not just for tourists. Because often places where there are stuff for tourists, they are overpriced.
Right,
but
that's true.
this is a good place to explore the market and the vibe of the place. And another interesting thing is this market also came up post-independence. So prior to independence, there used to be a wall out here, which was that's why it's called walled city.
Mm-hmm.
The place where this bazaar was part of the city, and before all these shops came up, there used to be a ditch here, and this ditch or kind of moat used to exist here.
Mm-hmm.
So after partition, a lot of people came in from Punjab and Sindh, essentially Sindh. And then the shops were made and they were allotted to the Sindhi community. So most of the shopkeepers here are Sindhi here because they were all displaced from Sindh in Pakistan.
Okay.
Right, interesting.
Okay. Interesting. Right. And what about the items? What all items do we get in Bapu Bazaar for shopping?
So in Bapu Bazaar, you get very interesting items like all these jutis, mojodi,
Right, of course,
hand block printed bed sheets, then salwar suit fabrics, and a lot of other home linen and all that stuff, handmade stuff. And then there are some handicraft shops also. But this market is particularly known for hand block printed bed sheets and clothes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the colorful jyoti, especially. Some beautiful pictures also on your blog. I'm sure those are one of the standout items, right?
Yeah, I think female just flip over them. I mean, when they see this because they're quite unique.
Yeah, even in the picture in your blog post, I kept looking at each one of them. I was like, okay, maybe I would buy this. Oh yeah, maybe I would not buy this. Maybe I would buy this. So I have like my list already there. So hopefully.
And I'm sure when you come here, you'll get to see much more designs.
Right, of course, yes. Yeah.
And one of the interesting elements that really make female happy is the bargaining part.
Right, yes. I was just about
that is
to
an
get to
essential
that.
part of this market.
Right, I was just about to get to that. So, do we have to bargain? I mean, like all other places?
A lot of shops, yes, you have to because the shopkeepers also know that women are going to bargain.
Of course, yeah.
And in some places, they have a very clear policy that they don't bargain. It's difficult to generalize, but yes, bargaining is part and parcel of this entire experience.
Yeah, the Indian shopping experience, right? It's very unique here. So that's lovely. And then, how big is this bazaar in terms of, relative sizes of other bazaars, right? Is it a smaller one?
It's not very big. I think it would be, say, around half a kilometer from one gate to the other gate because on one side is the new gate, the other part is the Sanganeri gate. So between them, it's around, say, half a kilometer. It won't be more than a kilometer in any case.
Brilliant. So I'm assuming we're walking towards Sanganeri gate. That's the next pit stop for us then?
Right. So Sanganeri Gate is again very interesting because it leads you to the Johari Bazaar. So Johari Bazaar is the main market of Jaipur.
Sure.
It's you can say, nerve center of the entire old market.
Yep.
The reason, although Johari Bazaar itself is self-explanatory because Johari means jewelers.
Right.
Yep.
So this is a market where there are a lot of offices of jewelers and jewelry manufacturing hub. There are a lot of workers in the buy lane. So it's very vibrant. And apart from jewelers, there are other stuff also because it's in this market that you can buy things to eat and all, maybe sarees. And I mean, there's a different buzz out there. This Sanganeri Gate is pretty important because it's a big gate. This gate leads you to Hawa Mahal and then to Amer also, if you were to walk through this gate, through the old city. So I'm sure every tourist would definitely walk in from here or maybe pass through this gate.
Right. Yeah, and as you said, similar colors and floral patterns to the new gate. So that way also, like these gates are pretty huge. Also, you have to pass through them to get a feel of it. Because me living in, a different city like Bangalore doesn't have a lot of these gates. So just giving out some context to people who might be going there. Pretty huge gates and beautiful floral patterns also that kind of decorate these gates. Now, having passed through the Sanganeri Gate, like you mentioned, the nerve center of the old city, right? Johari Bazaar.
Yeah.
So just walk us through Johari Bazaar, and you did give an overview of what one can find, but anything specific that stands out which like people should check out?
So again, Saif, it also depends. I mean, foreigners definitely have a different viewpoint, and for them, a lot of things are new. But for Indian, a lot of things are, quite mundane. It also depends on how you look at it. Maybe a foreigner would find a vegetable market very interesting, whereas for Indian, it is nothing unique.
Right.
So that's why I kept it very open on how you want to explore, and you can flip from one point to another point also.
Right.
And talking about this bazaar, once you walk past the Sanganeri Gate, you have the old Hanuman temple on your left hand side. And it's being said it's quite old. There are no specific year or how old is this temple. There are no numbers, but I presume it's a very old temple. And there's a people tree out there. And the pictures from late 1800s, they have this tree in that picture also. So I presume the tree is also very old.
Right. So in some of these blogs, and I think even in your blog, you have mentioned that this temple, is much more older than when the city was established, right?
Yeah, but I think the current architecture says that it has gone under complete renovation. So you don't find that element anywhere. That's a sad part also, because when you say something is old, you do expect old architecture or something old.
Right.
But when you don't find it, you start doubting that also.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. But just in general terms, right? Even the Johari Bazaar is one of the older parts of the city in relative terms, right? So the architecture, how has it withstood, say, modernization, Arvind? Do you still find a lot of these places that have retained the old, the architectural style that was unique to Jaipur? All of these unique style, right? The Jharokas, the Chhatris, all of that is very unique to Rajasthan.
There are. I would like to add here that a lot of change has happened over the last few years, specifically the last 10 years. People have changed the facade of the building. But yes, we do find a lot of old buildings still in Johari Bazaar. So maybe 50 years ago, there were a lot of old buildings and old facade, but now we have, say, around 50-60% only, because the authorities haven't been able to withhold the construction and the changes.
Right.
So that's a sad part, but still, as a tourist, you can still find a lot of interesting elements like all these Jharoka and Jalis and windows. You do find all that element in the main bazaar. And another unique thing is that in this bazaar, there's this shaded area through which you can walk. So this walkway is shaded because it has got a viewing deck on top. So this came up probably in 30s or 40s. Prior to that, the facade used to have shops with only tarpaulin cover.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look in my blog, there's an old picture of Johari Bazaar. So you can see the change that has taken place.
Yep. Some
Interesting.
very
Yeah.
beautiful comparisons also one can make by looking at that old picture and how Johari Bazaar stands today. And a much bigger bazaar, I would assume, right, in
And
size
it's much
also?
older also, right? I think it was established back in the 1700s, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, this is one of the originally planned markets. And totally there were 4 markets which were originally planned. So Johari Bazaar is certainly, the most highlighted one because again, Johari Bazaar used to have a lot of houses of these rich businessmen and ministers also.
Oh, okay, okay.
The unique thing that Johari Bazaar had was that none of the houses or residences had opening on in the bazaar. So the entry used to be from the rear.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That is how it was planned earlier, but over the years it has changed. So a lot of people have found a way to get their door open in the market itself. But the original idea was that there was no entry point for any of the residences from the market directly. You had to access it through the by lanes.
Okay, okay. That's quite interesting when you think of it with respect to planning, where you have one side of the road where you can, one end of the road where you're entering for residential entry and exit, and the other side is just for commercial purpose.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
very well planned.
Yeah, it's a well-planned city that way and a well-planned market too. And definitely for, I think, connoisseurs of jewelry in general, right? It can be all of this colored jewelry or you've mentioned a
You
few
can
types.
find all kind of jewelry. I mean, it's not just the gold jewelry. You can find even the artificial jewelry or silver jewelry in this market. You can even buy stones. A lot of people use these stones for astrological reasons. So you can buy them also in this market. And Jaipur is a market which supplies all these stones across the country and also to the other markets across the world. So it's a big hub.
Right. Because even when we go out for shopping, let it be even Bangalore or Hyderabad also, there are a lot of emeralds and a lot of other gemstones that are specifically got all the way from Jaipur. So
Yeah.
it's been a hub since the
Yeah, for a long time it's been a hub, and so given that it also holds a lot of these jewelry and important items, right? I'm assuming one can spend a lot of time here, given on your interest. So, after spending some time at the Johari Bazaar, where next do you suggest we walk from here?
So I have listed one of the lanes in Johari Bazaar, which is called Ghee Walon Ka Rasta.
Okay.
So you take a detour into the by lane. And the interesting history of this market is that it's called Ghee Walon Ka Rasta because in old times, a lot of these village people would come with the ghee kept in a old vase-like of containers, and they would stand here and they would sell here. That's why it got its name. It was named Ghee Walon Ka Rasta.
Okay, that's interesting because I think we tried looking up and finding out details about why is it named like this, and there was no reference about ghee being sold currently. So, but then that's interesting.
Yeah,
Ghee
now it's
wala.
very different assumed, right?
Yeah.
So all these by lanes, they have interesting names. So they are either named after a person or maybe something unique about that particular lane or maybe the market. So that's how it has been named. So once you walk past this Ghee Walon Ka Rasta, there's a lot of interesting buildings and shops to look around and stop. If you want to sample something, there are a lot of these mithai shops and all that stuff. So you can do that and you can walk through, you can gaze at the architecture, enjoy the market, and then after reaching the first intersection, you take left.
Okay. Now, going a little back, please tell us more about food. So you said that a lot of sweets are there. So Rajasthan is, of course, so famous for all the sweets, along with everything else. So what is one that, what are the different sweets that one can try and indulge in?
So Ghevar is one of the interesting things.
Uh-huh.
And then Fini is again unique to Rajasthan. So these two sweets are quite unique to Rajasthan. Although now you get them in other places also.
Right. But then could you please explain for someone who doesn't know what Fini is? Ghevar, of course I know, but then Saif wasn't sure about what Ghevar is. So can you please just in words explain how the flavors are or how it looks at least? Yeah.
So Ghevar is more, disc shape, and how do I explain it? I mean,
Or
it's
maybe I can tell you because I've tasted
yeah,
ghevar.
yeah.
I
That
really
thanks,
like it.
thanks.
Yeah, so it's almost like a disc shape that is, I suppose it is fried or baked. I think fried, where
Yeah, it
it's
is
very,
fried in.
yeah, and it's porous, where you have
Yeah.
a flavor of cardamom and saffron. So I'm not sure what flavor it is. It's like a very nice, perfect flavor, a balance. And then
And these are syrupy, or how are they?
so no, it's like a
So syrup is
sponge.
added
Yeah,
later.
syrup is
Okay.
added later, right? So it's very porous, and the syrup is added later. Then you even have cream and cashews and almonds and all that added on top. So it's a very crispy base, nice, spongy,
So
juicy thing.
it's crispy if it is not, dipped in this
The syrup.
sugary syrup and
Right.
kept for days.
Right.
Okay.
So the best way to have it is you buy ghevar, which is without sugar syrup, and then you add sugar syrup when you want to eat. That way you can have a crisp, and it is also sweet.
Right. Right.
Okay. That's
Nice.
There's an entire blog post out there on ghevar on my blog if somebody wants to
Awesome.
know more about it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
Yeah, we'll definitely link that
yeah.
in the show notes so people can check
And I'm
that out
definitely
too.
going to read it now.
And what about Finny? Finny reminded me of Kanaf, right?
Yeah, the pictures look like a
yeah.
vermicelli kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, it is a very thin strand of which is again fried.
Yeah.
This fini is also specific to seasons. So there are two seasons when this fini is made, like ghevar. Of course, these days some of the shops they sell it throughout the year.
Okay.
But earlier you would get it in monsoon and then again around Makar Sankranti, which is 14th of January.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
And there are traditions associated with it. So one of the interesting tradition is that the bride's father and mother would send ghevar and fini on specific days
Oh, okay.
to her house. So that's like Gangor and Tej festival. So they are associated similarly with this ghevar and fini.
Very interesting, yeah, about
Yeah.
the background of it also. That's brilliant. I have a sweet tooth, so I don't mind eating this throughout the year. But for somebody going there, I definitely would advise to try and sample some of these because they are really mouth-watering, and I'm sure they taste well also. Now, I have a craving since I've seen the pictures. I'm sure you'll have too. So whenever you get a chance, do try to sample it. Firstly, maybe in your city, and then of course when you're in Jaipur, the authentic ghevar and fini. Now moving on from here, right? You were mentioning about heading up to the intersection and making, I guess, some sort of it's like the next lane, right? Is where you're taking us to.
Yeah, that's a lane which connects this Ghee Walon Ka Rasta with Haldiyon Ka Rasta. And this particular place is called Dada Bazaar.
Okay.
Okay.
And the unique thing about Dada Bazaar is there are a lot of shops selling fabric and clothes.
Okay.
So in old days, people used to come here and buy the entire wedding clothes from this market. But now that has changed because shops have moved out and people don't like coming to the congested city.
Okay. Okay.
But that's how it used to be in old days.
And how talking about Haldi Walon Ka Rasta, why is it named
Haldiyon Ka,
Haldiyon Ka?
right?
So Haldiyon Ka Rasta is named after a person who was a minister,
Okay.
and he was also a businessman. So that's how it has been named Haldiyon, because his surname was Haldia.
Okay.
So that's why it's called Haldiyon Ka Rasta.
Okay. It's quite interesting about how these names of all these rastas are coined.
So they're either named after a person, or maybe there's some interesting shop, or
Right.
maybe some temple, because a couple of these lanes are named after temples.
Okay.
So there's Gopalji Ka Rasta because there's a temple of Krishna Bhagwan in that lane.
Uh-huh.
And then this lane called Moti Singh Bhomio Ka Rasta. So Bhomia is again worship. So that's been named after again a temple.
Okay. Cool.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So yeah, somebody who's looking out for shopping for wedding shopping, right? That's what you said, Arv, on
Yeah.
this lane. So can indulge in that and check this out. And anything else on that's unique to this road?
So there are a lot of jewelry stores in this part of the Jolly Bazaar, and there are a lot of offices of jewelers also in this part of the Jolly Bazaar. And another unique thing is this is the broadest bylane of Jolly Bazaar.
Oh,
This
interesting. Uh-huh.
So these are the two things. And of course, over the period of time, a lot of changes have taken place. And if you walk in these lanes now, there are a lot of clothes and all sort of stuff being sold here because a lot of people come from outside, both from the nearby places and from the other cities also. So it's kind of, a very messy kind of market because if you were to walk past this lane in the afternoon, it's all buzzing and there's hardly any space for you to walk through, even though it's quite wide. But that's how it has been now, over the last few years.
All right. After this, where next are we headed?
Once we are done with the Haldiyon Ka Rasta, we walk back into Jolly Bazaar again and we take a ride from there towards Hawa Mahal and
wow.
Badi Chowpar.
Okay.
So this particular section has got a lot of jewelry stores and sari stores. This particular stretch is well known for this, and that's where a lot of people come for wedding shopping.
Okay. Hawa Mahal is also there. That's what you said,
It's close by from here.
So Hawa Mahal is close by. So when you walk towards Hawa Mahal and when you reach the end of Jolly Bazaar, there's big square which is called Badi Chowpar.
Okay.
So this Chowpar is a large square. It is probably the name was coined because in old days we used to have this game called Chowpar, which is what Indian chess was.
Oh, okay.
People used to probably sit down and play there, right?
I think it looked like
doubt
an
that.
intersection.
So it looks like an intersection.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why it's called Chowpar.
Okay, so if
now I
it's imagination, like people sitting there and playing chopper.
So that's fine. I think because there are no clear descriptions, so we have to go by what we can coin with.
Right.
So this Badi Chowpar has this flower market, which is again very popular with foreign travelers because
Right.
that's unique. They don't find this kind of thing in their own country, so they also like to explore this area. So in past there used to be a lot of flower sellers, but now because there's metro construction going on, so they've displaced and there are only a few of them sitting there.
Okay, and it's a very interesting picture that you've put up on your blog as well, where there is one side where there is huge construction, as you mentioned, the metro construction going on, and then in the corner you can see Hawa Mahal also.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's like the mix of both worlds, where you still have the old stuff there and the new constructions thriving as well. So, but then in good in one way, the accessibility that it would give.
So a few months ago, I had posted one of this similar picture, and it was Jaipur Then and Now. There's an entire series of Jaipur Then and Now.
Okay.
So this Hawa Mahal, which you see from this angle, there's an old picture which is clicked by the Maharaja Savai Ram Singh II. He was the first photographer king of Jaipur, and it has been shot in late 19th century. So I have clicked on the same picture from same place with the same angle, so you can see the difference. So it shows the change that has taken place over last 150 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and also going back to the flower market, right? That's also, like you said, for foreigners, it might be a very interesting concept. We in Bangalore have a big flower market. Where's this? KR market, I think, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was reminded of while I was looking at some of the pictures from your blog. But adds a different kind of, a whole feel, a whole vibe to the walk also, right? Until now, it was a lot of things that you could shop in terms of the jutis or the fabrics and eatables and stuff like that. Now we're adding flowers to the mix also. So that kind of gives the diversity also.
Right, and I think it even added a sense, it enhances your sense, so you're just not visually seeing things, but even your nostrils are filled with the fragrance. So walking around is definitely a best way to explore the city.
So what I really like about this walk is that when you walk through this market, there's so many things to see and watch. Not just watch and also experience.
Right.
So when you're walking past this, you can also find old coin seller. So these guys used to buy old notes and would give you new notes. or you can change it from old coins to new coins. So there are a lot of different small elements which is hard to put in a blog, because then it will become a huge blog
Right, right.
to read. So I think when you walk, you can see so many things which are not even mentioned in the blog, and it's not possible for me to mention them in my blog.
Correct.
And I think that's a part of the experience also, right? Like you see it through your own eyes, different things.
And another thing is that when you write everything, there's nothing much for people to explore. So I think it's best when you actually do it and find it yourself rather than me just mentioning it here.
Right, right. That's true. That's absolutely true.
So, but you've done a brilliant job, like calling out the framework of the whole walk. Now it's up to people to discover it in their own way, right? So that's the
I think
beauty
that's
of
the
it.
essence of self-guided walk. It's just a guideline which tells you what all you can expect, but it is for you to find out.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, tell us a little bit now. We've gone and experienced the flower market at this point. Which is the next point of interest?
So the next point is Hawa Mahal, because coming to Jaipur and not seeing Hawa Mahal is like, going to Paris and not seeing Eiffel Tower, or going to Agra and not seeing Taj Mahal.
Right. Yeah, of course, it's the most recognized building when you see Jaipur. Yeah.
Yeah, but another interesting thing which a lot of people don't know is that this Hawa Mahal that we see, or the pictures that we see, is actually just the facade. There's an entire building just behind this.
Right. Okay.
And it's very interesting when you go and explore this building. And not many travelers go and explore this building, because a lot of them don't know, and a lot of them skip because of time. But if somebody has time, I would definitely recommend them to go inside the structure, and they can climb up the Hawa Mahal and have the view of the entire surrounding area, which is very interesting. Because when you're standing in front, that's one perspective, and when you stand behind Hawa Mahal and just gaze around and see the entire market, it's a different perspective.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And I think it was built to make it easy for basically the
royal
women
women,
of the
royal
family,
family.
right? Yeah, for them to look at the processions or the celebrations, etc., that would go on outside.
Yeah, that was a primary motive of building this. But another interesting thing is the Maharaja who built this, Savai Pratap Singh. He would spend long time in the courtyard of Hawa Mahal. There are 2-3 courtyards, and he would sit there. He was a big Krishna fan, so he would recite poems and pray, and would watch dance and all those things. So there are a lot of other elements which are not known to people. So Hawa Mahal is mostly known as a place where women would come and watch the procession.
Right.
But there are other interesting elements also. So if someone has time, they should definitely explore Hawa Mahal from the inside rather than just watching it from the outside.
Absolutely, yeah. And after this point, right, after Hawa Mahal, is there more things in the vicinity also that one should check out, Arvind?
So there are a lot of shops which are aimed at tourists. I would say they should not buy here, because it's overpriced stuff.
Yeah.
That's a personal opinion.
Uh-huh.
But if someone doesn't have time, I mean, that's all the option they have. So once you walk past this, there are these shops, and then further down on left hand side, there's a old town hall which is not being used anymore.
Okay.
It was built in late 1800s. So the architectural style is quite different. It has got a European style as compared to the local architecture. So that's an interesting element when you see the European style blending with the Rajput style. It's an interesting building.
And is this something that's, you said it's not being used, but is it even functional, or can one explore
No,
this,
it's
or
been
you cannot?
closed.
Okay.
It's been closed for years, and there have been talks of opening this up for public by putting up some museum or something, but I think that has not gone through. So it's just locked up there, and that's all. I mean, we can just see the building from the outside.
Okay, cool. Carry on now.
Once we walk past this, we come across this Siradodi Bazaar, and we have this Siradodi gate. And once we enter the Siradodi gate, we are walking toward the City Palace complex.
Mm-hmm. So not very far away from the Hawa Mahal, right? In that case.
Yeah, yeah. So this entire, say, a kilometer in either ways, you find a lot of interesting places to visit. All the tourist attractions like Jantar Mantar, City Palace, Hawa Mahal, they're all located close by. So it's a walking distance. And when you walk past this gate, then you come across this Nakarkhana gate, which is again interesting. And the interesting story about this Nakarkhana gate is that in old days, the upper structure, they used to have these musicians playing music. Whenever the king would pass or he would come winning a war or something like that. So that's why it's called Nakarkhana gate.
Interesting. And now, is this one of the 8 gates, or is this something different?
No, this is not the one of the 8 gates, because all these 8 gates would lead you out or in
To the
to the city.
Okay.
But these are the internal gates. So these gates are essentially to protect the city palace.
Okay. I think that's some interesting context about the Nakarkhana gate also, being one of the internal gates in the city. From here on, which way are we walking to? What's the next point now?
So once we walk past Karkhana gate, we come across a huge public square, and this is called Jaleb Chowk.
Okay.
So Jaleb is a Farsi word, which is essentially a place where the generals or the kings would call for the army, and they would have this gathering of army.
Okay.
So after the independence, this Jaleb Chowk was occupied by the government for their own offices. Then over the period of time, all these offices have been shifted because the government can't work with a small space, because each of these functions require a huge space. So right now this Jaleb Chowk is all empty, and you'll only find buses or car being parked here. So it's a huge square, and in this square you can walk either straight towards City Palace, you can walk left towards Jantar Mantar, or you can take right towards Govind Dev Ji Temple. And in this walk I have chosen Govind Dev Ji Temple because a lot of tourists are not aware about this temple. And Govind Dev Ji Temple is a very important temple because prior to the king making his residence in this city, it was this temple which was built.
Okay.
Because the king assumed that it was actually Govind Dev Ji who was ruler of the city, and he was merely his disciple following his order. And there's a huge following of Govind Dev Ji Temple in Jaipur. And there's a very interesting history also. So in late 1600s, Aurangzeb gave order to destroy Hindu temples in North India.
Okay.
And one of the kings of Amer, Raja Mansingh, he had built this Govind Dev Ji temple in Vrindavan. And he would often visit there because they are huge disciple of Krishna Bhagwan. The entire Kachawa Rajputs that ruled Amer and Jaipur, they follow Krishna.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when the news of Aurangzeb giving order to destroy Hindu temple reached them, they somehow managed to get the idols smuggled into Rajasthan.
Okay.
And there were 3 such idols which came into Rajasthan. So one of them is established near Udaipur in Srinathji. And the other one is here in Jaipur, which is Govind Dev Ji.
Okay.
So this Govind Dev Ji temple has got a huge following, and I think people who come to Jaipur, they should definitely visit this place because they will be able to absorb the aura of this entire place by visiting Govind Dev Ji temple.
And that's a lot of history also behind about how the temple was built and everything. And even the deity, I mean, it would be really old then.
Yeah, it's pretty old because this deity, Raja Mansingh built the temple in say 1500 something. So I assume this is at least 600-year-old idol.
Wonderful.
This is the idol of Lord Krishna, right? That's placed in the temple also?
Yeah. So 2 interesting things about Govind Dev Ji temple is, one, the entire temple has got no pillars. And it's a huge area which is being covered in Govind Dev Ji temple. The other thing is that the Krishna, like Vrindavan, it is assumed is like human form. So every day they change their dresses, and the bhog is also changed based on the season. So essentially, Krishna is treated like a human form.
Very interesting. And in terms of the architecture of the temple, Arvind, like, is this similar to the some of the other popular temples you might find in Rajasthan, or how is this?
So I would like to mention here that most of the temples here in Jaipur, which are old, follows a Haveli style of temple. So the unique thing about Haveli style of temple is that they don't have shikhar. They are built like Haveli, essentially the residential units. Another unique thing about this temple is there are a lot of this particular temple is built more like a baradari.
Okay, what's that?
So baradari is a flat roof area with pillars. So baradari means it essentially has got 12 pillars. But in some cases there can be more pillars also. So it's a unique blend of Haveli and baradari.
Very interesting. And you said it's one of the popular temple with devotees also, right, in Jaipur. So one should definitely check this temple out as well. And this is in close vicinity to the city palace, or within the complex of city palace, you said, Arvind?
So this is within walking distance of city palace, because the king ensured that the temple be accessible to him easily. So that's why it's built in the city palace complex.
Okay, nice.
That also adds another dimension to the walk, right? All this while we were exploring a lot of the bazaars and the different places one can find in en route, the different spots in Old City, and now we've come to a stop where there's a temple as well. So that also adds a lot of diversity to this whole walk around the Old City of Jaipur. Yeah.
Certainly, and the other thing is you can always club this walk along with your popular tourist places like Jantar Mantar or City Palace, and it's right in the heart of the city. So it's very easy to club it with the other tourist attractions.
Absolutely. And so, Arvind, this is one of the last or the final stops, at least on the ones that you've discussed on the blog, right?
So this is the last stop, and then, as I said, you can always add places, like you can add City Palace or maybe Jantar Mantar, depending on how you want to do it, or you can just walk back to Johri Bazaar and explore the other side of Johri Bazaar, because in this walk I have explored only the right side of Johri Bazaar. So you can walk back on the left hand side and you can retrace the route. So it's up to the reader how he wants to do it, depending on his interest or time.
Absolutely. I think it's a very, very wholesome trip that you've shared. Now, in terms of a good time to do this walk, right? When would you suggest? In terms of the times of the day as well as times of the years, because obviously summer months can be pretty hot, right? It might not be very feasible to do these walks since we're spending about 2.5 hours outside. What would you suggest, Arvind?
So I think the tourist season here starts in October. So October to Feb is a good time to do it because the weather is good during this period, especially the December, January, February period, which is when the weather is little cold. Then you can do it. And as far as the time of the day is concerned, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. If you want the lively bazaar, then obviously you should do it after 11 a.m. And if you like the quiet place and you want to maybe spend a lot of time clicking pictures or watching it closely, I think morning hours suits better.
Yeah, personally also the walks I've taken, we start off pretty early in the day, around 7:38, and then I think for some of the markets, especially around that time, is also interesting because a lot of the loading and all of that is being done, and the shopkeepers are setting up their stalls and everything. So that time is also pretty interesting, and weather-wise, it's a little more pleasant also. So my personal preference is there that time. But obviously, if you want to actually indulge in some shopping and check out a lot of the shops and stores, etc. I think a little later in the day, maybe around 11 o'clock, like Arvind mentioned, would be a good time. But yeah, it's been a brilliant walk. Now tell us a little bit more as to how listeners and readers can follow your blog and other say social media handles where you actively post your content.
So they can follow me on Facebook through the page Jaipur Through My Lens. And on Instagram also I am present. They can find the link on my blog. I am also present on Twitter. They can follow me on Twitter or Pinterest also.
Okay, perfect. We'll add all the links in the show notes section so that it's easy for the listeners to go ahead and just click and access your beautiful blog. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful experience. We've basically seen Jaipur through your eyes and through the lens, of course.
Through your lens.
Yes.
It was really nice speaking to you both.
Same here, and hopefully, like at least like after looking at your blog and the pictures, I'd really want to go to Jaipur. Like the feeling is really strong now.
Yeah, in a different
Yeah.
sense also, we'll be exploring it in a different sense now, because otherwise
Unlike
you're mostly spending it like riding or driving from place to place. This one gives a whole different meaning to the trip, right, in terms of how you can explore it and how you can actually experience a lot of Jaipur and specifically the old city. So thank you so much for laying this out so well for us. We look forward to following your content and more stories from Jaipur. Thank you, Arvind.
Thank you, Arvind.
Thank you.
That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Audioboom, Savan, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Stitcher, or any other podcasting app available on iOS or Android. Please do leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way in the show's discoverability. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or, if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com or visit our website at www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of each episode. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.